Morning everyone. Today we shall discuss the second part of your lesson 2 of geography, that's about land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife resources. As we already discussed about land and soil in our previous video, in this chapter we shall deal with water, natural vegetation and wildlife resources. First of all, let me tell you about something about water. Everybody knows about water. It is one of the most important thing which help to sustain life. It is a vital natural resource. It is very important. 3/4 of the earth's surface is covered with water. As it was already explained in your first video, even you can see from here that if we will consider about our earth's surface, 71%, that's the majority of the earth's surface is covered by water. And also you know that water, the zone of water, it is also known as hydrosphere, and 29% of the land surface is covered by land, which was already discussed in our earlier video. These water bodies, they consist of oceans, seas, lakes, rivers, etc. Means all the different forms of water, they are the part of the hydrosphere. Because of water, life is possible on earth. You know there are 8 planets in the solar system, and among the 8 planets, life is possible only on earth, and that's because of water. Our earth has got its name of water planet or blue planet. The two names have been given to our planet earth. One is watery planet, another one is blue planet, and that's because of the presence of water. The name blue planet is given because the pictures which have been taken from the space of our earth, it appears blue in color, and that's also because of the presence of water. Total volume of water on earth remains same because it keeps cycling through evaporation, condensation and precipitation. The amount of water on the earth's surface, it sometimes changes, but the actual amount, it remains static. It remains the same, and it remains the same because of 3 processes. One is evaporation, one is condensation, and the third one is precipitation. About all these things we shall be discussing in the next lesson. Still, let me give you a bit idea about these 3 terms. Evaporation means when the water of the oceans or the rivers, they get evaporated because of the sunlight. Condensation means when this evaporated water vapor, they form the clouds. And precipitation means when the clouds, they condense or they becomes cool and they comes down on the earth's surface in the form of rainfall. 2 types of water are there. One is known as saline water, another one is known as fresh water. Depending on the usability or quality, we can say water can be classified into 2 types: saline water and fresh water. Saline water means salty water that are found in the oceans and the seas, and fresh water are the water which can be used by the human beings or the other living beings, like the water of the rivers, the water of the lakes, snowfall, rainfall. These all water, it comes under fresh water. So that's about water. The second topic that we are going to discuss today is here about water conservation. Though water is available, but only 2.7% is fresh water. I have already shown in the picture that 71% of the earth's surface is covered by water. But out of the 71%, we can say only 2.7% is fresh water. It was already told earlier that water can be classified into 2 types: saline water and fresh water. This saline water, it cannot be used by the human beings or the other things for different purposes. We can use only the fresh water for our domestic as well as agricultural purposes, and this fresh water, it is only 2.7% on the earth's surface. And out of this 2.7%, only 1% is fit for human use. So I think you can understand about the vitality or the importance of water. Since total water is 71% on the earth's surface, out of 71%, only 2.7% is fresh water, and out of 2.7%, only 1% water is fit for human use. So it must be conserved, and that's the reason you see only 1% is there for human use, and that's why it is very important to conserve the water. Contaminated or polluted water can lead to different diseases, even to death. Water if it is polluted, if it is not fit, if it is not good, that can lead to different types of diseases like cholera, diarrhea, and even they can also lead to death. And that's the reason why we should try to conserve water. Now point comes, how can we conserve water? Different ways are there. I have tried to show you few points here. The first one, by planting more and more trees which will conserve the underground water. You know, water is stored under the earth's surface. Already in class 7 you have got about the underground water and its uses and importance. If we plant the trees, the root of the trees, they will hold the soil tightly, and that will also conserve the underground water. Second, this is the first one. Second one, through the process of rainwater harvesting. You know, for our domestic use, we can use the rainwater. So generally when the rain falls, we can collect the water on our rooftops. We can make the small reservoirs or small tanks to conserve the rainwater, and that water can be used for different types of domestic uses. That's known as rainwater harvesting. The third one is, canals used for irrigation should be properly built. You know, canals are generally made to bring the river water to supply into our crop fields. That system is known as irrigation. If we build the canals properly, we can stop the leakage of water. Even if the canals are covered, the water will not be evaporated. That's another way of water conservation. The fourth one is increasing the use of sprinklers. You know what is sprinklers? Let me show you what is sprinklers. It is there in your geography book. You can see in page number 17 of your geography book, it is there, water sprinkler. Pipes are used. These pipes, they are generally connected with the water sources, and this is the sprinkler. It will sprinkle the water, and if we will use such type of sprinklers or system to provide water to our crop fields, automatically the water can be conserved, because when water will flow through this, it will not be evaporated. Even switch will be here to control it. When we need it, we can supply it. When there is no need, we can also close the tap. So that's another way of water conservation. So that's all about water, why it is important, what are the different types of water, and water conservation. Now the next point that we are going to study here is about natural vegetation and wildlife. Natural vegetation, it very simple means, in very simple language we can say it means forest, and wildlife means the life which is there in our wild. Natural vegetation means the original forest cover including all different types of plants. All the different types of plants, trees, they comes under natural vegetation. And wildlife, it means all the living beings including the small insects till the large animals found in the wild or in the forests. The animals, the insects, whatever living beings are there in the forest or in the wild, they are known as the wildlife. All these living beings are interrelated and interdependent. We can say this, in the natural vegetation different plants will be there, and in the wildlife, right from the small insect till the huge elephant, all the animals are there, and all these living beings, they are related to each other, and even they are interdependent on each. This life supporting system is known as ecosystem. What is the meaning of ecosystem? Is all the living beings, they depend on each other and they are interrelated with each other for their survival, and this dependency is known as ecosystem. Natural vegetation provides us with timber, gives shelter to animals, produce oxygen we breathe, give us fruits, oil, medicines, etc. This is the importance of natural vegetation. What we can get from the natural vegetation? We get many things from the natural vegetation. What we get? You see, we get timber, wood we get from the natural vegetation or the forest. It also gives shelter to animals. The different animals who are living in the forest, their life is depending on the natural vegetation. Produce oxygen, the most important thing, oxygen, that we know all the living beings, they need oxygen for breathing, and this oxygen is provided to us by the natural vegetation or the forest. During the process of photosynthesis, the green plants, they produce oxygen. You already got it. From the forest or from natural vegetation, we also got different types of fruits. We get oil, we get different types of medicines or the herbs. So that is the importance of natural vegetation. Now comes wildlife. What we get from the wildlife? Wildlife, it includes animals, birds, insects, as well as aquatic life forms. As I already told you, wildlife means the life which is there in the wild or in the forest. All the different types of living beings, like the animals, the birds, the insects, as well as the aquatic life. Aquatic life means the life which is there in the water bodies. This all comes under wildlife. Insects like bees provide us honey. Honey, it is one very good and tasty liquid that we derive from the insect bees. We get milk, meat, skin, wool, etc. from the animals. Milk we get from cow or goat or even from camel. Meat from the same animals we get meat also. The animal skins are used for making different types of things. The wool that we get from the sheep is used for making the woolen clothes. That's the importance of wildlife. Even some other birds or animals like vulture, they feed on dead livestock and considered as a vital cleanser of environment. The different dead bodies of the other animals which are there in the jungle or in the forest, those dead bodies are generally eaten by the vultures or animals like hyena or the other animals, and thus they help to clean the environment. And that's why this type of animals like vulture and hyena, they are known as the cleanser of the environment. So we can say animals, either big or small, all are integral to maintain balance in the ecosystem. So I have taken here the example of vulture or some other small insects, and from here we can easily understand that all the animals and the birds or all the living beings, they are dependent and interrelated to each other, and thus they help in balancing our ecosystems. And that's why we can say that the natural vegetation and wildlife, they are very much important. Proceeding to the second last point of our chapter, distribution of natural vegetation. What are the different types of natural vegetation that we are going to discuss now? The growth of vegetation depends mainly on temperature and moisture. We can say that different types of vegetation, they depend on two factors. One is temperature and second one is moisture, that is amount of water vapor. The major vegetation types of the world. All over the world, vegetation can be classified into different types. Let me tell you one by one. The first one, it is about forests. These consist of huge trees and are found in areas with abundant water supply. These forests are generally consist of big trees, tall trees, and they are generally found with the places with abundant water supply. That means where water is available, in those areas forests are generally found. This forest can be classified into two types. One is evergreen forest and another one is deciduous forest. The meaning of evergreen forest is, in evergreen forest, the trees never shed their leaves. The trees, they remain green all the year round. That's known as evergreen forest. But in deciduous forest, the trees, they shed their leaves in a particular season. To retain the moisture, the trees of the deciduous forest, they shed their leaves in a particular season, which is not so in evergreen forest. That's about the first type of vegetation, forests. Second one is grasslands. As the name suggests, grasslands means in this type of vegetation we can find different types of grasses. This type of vegetation is generally found in places with moderate rainfall. If rainfall is maximum, we can find forest, and if rainfall is moderate, medium, not so high, not so low, there we can find the grasslands. Short stunted trees and grasses grow in this type of vegetation. Grasslands, here we can find medium size of plants or the different types of grasses. About grasslands, in your next chapter, it is there in detail. We shall be discussing in detail then. That's about grassland. Now comes scrubs. This type of vegetation is found in dry areas of low rainfall. See, different types of vegetation, it is mainly depending on the rainfall. We can say forests, maximum rainfall; grasslands, moderate rainfall; and scrubs, we can say it is found in those areas where rainfall is low. Thorny shrubs and scrubs grow here. Here the different types of plants with thorns, thorny plants, and the scrubs are found. These plants have deep roots and leaves with thorny and waxy surface. We can see the different types of plants which are found in the scrubs. Their roots are deep because They receive low rainfall, so they need water, and to get the water from the soil, their roots are very deep and their leaves are thorny and waxy surface like wax, or we can say thick. They have thick leaves. That's about scrubs. The last type of vegetation is tundra vegetation. Tundra vegetation, it is found in the polar regions. This type of vegetation is found in the cold polar regions and comprises of mosses and lichens. Mosses and lichens means they are different types of, you can say, the different types of vegetation or the plants which grow generally in the shallow places or the watery places. And tundra vegetation, it is found in the polar regions, that is in the North Pole or in the South Pole, that's in Antarctica, in the Arctic region. This type of vegetation is found where temperature is very low. So that's about all the different types of natural vegetation. Now moving towards the last point of our chapter, it is about conservation of natural vegetation and wildlife. As we already got that natural vegetation and wildlife, they are very important for us for maintaining the ecosystem, and that's why we should always try to conserve the natural vegetation as well as the wildlife. Forests are our wealth. They add natural beauty. From there we have already got, from the natural vegetation we get different types of things like oil, we get food, we get medicines, we get timber, and from the wildlife also we get different types of food, skin, meat, milk, these things. Changes of climate and human interferences can cause the loss of natural habitats for the plants and animals. You know, climate, which is one very major factor which affect natural vegetation and wildlife. And climate, it is not static, it changes over time, and because of these changes and also because of the human interferences, we cause the loss of natural habitat for both the plants as well as the animals. What are the factors? You can see here few factors I have tried to show you. Deforestation, cutting down the trees. The meaning of deforestation is cutting down the trees. Soil erosion, that is the carrying away the soil from one place to the other. Already it was explained. Forest fires, sometimes forest fires are also caused naturally or by human activities. These are the some factors which accelerate the process of extinction. Because of all these different factors, we cause damage or huge damage to both natural vegetation as well as wildlife. The animals like tiger, lion, elephant, etc. are hunted for illegal trade of hides, skin, nails, teeth, etc. You know, all over the world, different types of animals, they are hunted by the greedy hunters for their skin, for their meat, for their nails, etc. Even in our neighboring state in Assam, you know, one-horned rhinos, it is world famous. One-horned rhino is found only in the Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary in Assam. But the hunters, they kill the rhinos for their skin or for their horns, and because of that, nowadays we can say rhinoceros or one-horned rhino, they are on the way of extinction. So all these things should be stopped. How can we stop it? Government has taken several steps for the conservation of natural vegetation and wildlife. Our government, not only our government of almost all the countries, they have taken several steps to conserve the natural vegetation as well as wildlife. What have they done? National parks, wildlife sanctuaries, etc. are made. The government, they established or they've made the national parks as well as the wildlife sanctuaries. For example, if I already gave you the example of Kaziranga National Park, that is specially meant for the conservation of one-horned rhino. I think you have heard about Corbett National Park. That Corbett National Park has been made to conserve the tiger population. In Gujarat, Gir National Park is there. Gir National Park, it is constructed for the conservation of the lion population. You have heard about Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary. That Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary also is made for the conservation and development of the life of the different types of birds. So that's are done by the government. Many countries have passed laws against the trade and killing of animals. Many countries, including our India, made different types of laws which ban the killing of the different animals. An international convention, CITES, 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 this is one international convention, and the meaning, full form of this is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. This organization, CITES, they ban or they maintain some rules which ban on the trade of some endangered species. Endangered species means the animals or the plants whose life is in danger. One list has been made by them, and they prohibit the killing or the destruction of different types of wild vegetation as well as wildlife. This has been established that lists several species of animals and birds in which trade prohibited. Trade is prohibited means this organization CITES, they made one list, and according to that list the trade on certain animals and certain birds have been prohibited. Conservation of plants and animals is an ethical duty of every citizen, but it is not only the duty of the government to conserve the natural vegetation and wildlife. Being a responsible citizen, it is the duty of each and every person to forward our hands for the conservation of natural vegetation and wildlife. Also, we can make the others understand that these animals and birds, they help in the balancing of the ecosystem, and we can help them to understand about it and we can conserve it. That's about all this chapter. You need to study the chapter properly. You need to underline the important points, and doubts, if any, you can get it cleared. Now it's time for homework. You can see here I have given you 3 questions. These questions you need to understand properly. First one is write a short note on water conservation. Second one, explain why natural vegetation and wildlife are important. And last one is write in your own words what you know about CITES, CITES. And all these answers are long, and you need to make the answers by yourself. Simply do not copy the sentences from the book. Of course, you take help from the book. Along with that, you add your own words and complete the homework and send it. Thank you for watching.